Well, hello and welcome once again to the best football show. I'm Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL, right there on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you can find this daily show. Just download your free Odyssey app and like and subscribe to it. I'm wearing my Texas Tech shirt here today, my little hoodie in honor of Patrick Mahomes, the 10th pick in the 2017 draft, possibly the greatest draft pick in the last 9 years, Mahomes to the Kansas City Chiefs and what has happened. And so with that, let's talk about the draft because we are basically 4 days removed now, and we're still dealing with the aftermath. I'm still going on talk shows around the country. I'm still talking about it on the NFL Network as we are 14 days away from the schedule release show, which is the next big item on the NFL's offseason. But let's talk about it because, everybody for a long time, they wanted to grade the draft. And it's just a silly exercise to put assign a grade. I know people do it and fans like it, and I get it. Do you get a B? Do you get an A? Do you get a B minus? I mean, it's just kind of silly because nobody knows. Nobody knew when the Chiefs traded up from number 24 to number 10 in front of the New Orleans Saints to take Patrick Mahomes that they were going to get themselves a Hall of Fame quarterback. That would lead this team to 4 Super Bowls and 3 wins and all that stuff. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew, and when Tom Brady was the 199th player taken, that he would become the GOAT of all GOATs. So the game is just so different from the college game to the NFL game, and so many things factor: injuries, coaching changes, coaching period. So many things factor, but there's some things that I want to talk about today. I think teams that did really well in this draft, and I'll give you the reasons why. Like, I think the Raiders did well. All right, and here's the reason why. Like, yes, with the 6th pick, they took Ashton Jeanty. He's not that guy. He's really not that difficult a guy to scout, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a talented guy that's had 2 great seasons at Boise. And, he's 5, he's compact. He's powerful. He's muscle on top of muscle. He makes my biceps look like I've never lifted a weight in my life. But the reason why it's a great first pick is because of who's coaching the Raiders. Like, when you look at Pete Carroll and you look at his history with Reggie Bush in USC, whether it's Marshawn Lynch at Seattle, you look at him in Seattle with Kenneth Walker and some of the guys that he had there. He's got a rich history of feeding good running backs and committing to the run. And not just Pete. The offensive coordinator is Chip Kelly. And I've known Chip since he was a coach at Oregon, but when he came to Philadelphia, I hosted a Chip Kelly show for 2 years. And I was around him every Wednesday morning. And his first year in Philadelphia was 2013. And Shady McCoy that year led the league in rushing. And everybody was like, the spread game, the passing game, and all that of Chip is true. But you look at him at Ohio State this year, winning the national championship, and you look at Quinshon Judkins, the 36th pick, and Travion Henderson, the 38th pick in this draft. Quinshon going to the Browns, Travion going to the Patriots. Like, you look at the rich history of Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll with a good running back. They commit to the running game. 2nd and 8, they can still be running the football. 4th and 1, they can be running the football. Like 3rd and 3, they can be running the football, knowing that they're probably going to, if they don't get it, they might very well go for it on 4th down. Like, so it starts there. But then, look, they lose Devontae Adams in free agency. They go out and they draft Jack Best from TCU. It's a smart pick. It's a pick of need in their 2nd round pick. He was the 58th player taken in the 2nd round. There was a lot of receivers taken. Jack Best, his highlight tape is outstanding. After the catch, smooth receiver, so excited to become a Raider. And then, their 3rd pick was Darian Porter from Iowa State, a big, long corner. Well, they released Jack Jones, their starting left corner, over basically the last 2 years. It's a position of need. You look at the Raiders and you go, okay, Jeanty, Besh, Porter. You look at the 2 offensive linemen, Caleb Rogers from Texas Tech. You look at Charles Grant, the longest arms in the draft. Charles Grant out of James Madison. He's got to get stronger. He's got to get bigger. But his movement, his running, they might have found, maybe they have to redshirt him for a year. But I think by year 2, Charles Grant could be a starting right tackle in this league. And then you look at Dante Thornton, 6'5", 200 pounds, but he runs a 4.3. I mean, these guys from Tennessee can flat out run. They've always had receivers that can run. But Thornton is that guy. So, you look at Pegues, from Ole Miss. I mean, defensive lineman, fullback, you name it. I mean, I thought, they had 11 picks. And teams that have 11 picks, you get more chances at it. But I thought that was really, really strong. And then I thought the Ravens once again. The thing about the Ravens are Ozzie Newsome is a Hall of Fame player, but he's a Hall of Fame general manager. And the guys that come out of the Ravens, including the guys that are there now, but, all the guys that have come out of there, Andy Weidel, Joe Douglas. I mean, just go on and on and on. The Chargers nowadays, Joe Horowitz. You look at these guys, they've just been trained the right way. My guy at NFL Network, Daniel Jeremiah, he got trained with Ozzie in the Baltimore Ravens. And when a lot of those guys left Baltimore and ended up in Philadelphia, they helped Howie Roseman change the way they grade and evaluate players. And Howie now looks like a genius. So you look at the Ravens, they sit there at number 27. They've got who knows how many different needs they have. They have them. There's Malachi Starks, maybe the most accomplished safety of this whole draft, and they take him at 27. And they pair him with Kyle Hamilton. And you've got 2 extremely talented and versatile safeties. And what Zach Orr will do in year 2 as a defensive coordinator with these 2 guys, whether it's blitzing them, matching them up in coverage, whether it's last-second rotation, free safety to strong safety, their matchup zone concepts. It's just fantastic. I mean, and they've had trouble at safety. Part of the problem in the first start of the season last year when the Ravens were awful, including how many points did they give up to Cincinnati in week 5 last year? Did they give up 38 points? It was ridiculous. They couldn't stop Joe Burrow, but part of the problem was their safety play. And so now they've got 2 first-round players at safety that are very versatile. Then they sit there. They don't move. They got all these picks. They've got 5 6-round picks, right? They just sit there in 59. And here's a first-round player in Mike Green out of Marshall, led FBS in sacks last year with 17. There's teams that had him, and he was mocked to go in the middle of the first round. Sometimes, some teams as early as 15 to the Atlanta Falcons. I know his agent very well. Everybody thought he was a first-round pick. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I mean, there's John Lynch. There's Mike Tomlin. There's Mike Vrabel right down there in the pits watching these one-on-ones. Mike Green led every defensive line drill, and it was a stacked defensive line class. Stacked. Tackles, ends, edge rushers. Mike Green led every single drill. And there he is. Now, look, he had issues going back to high school and the University of Virginia. And I'm not absolving him of the things that he's alleged to have done. But that dropped him. It wasn't his talent. It wasn't what he did to Senior Bowl. It wasn't his offseason. It wasn't in what he did at Marshall against Ohio State last year. It was things that traveled with him earlier in his life. Now, he addressed them, and I thought they were, he came clean about it, and I thought it was all behind him. But teams get nervous about taking players that have the charges that he had on his record. So there's the Ravens sitting at 59, and here comes Mike Green. And the Ravens are the only team in the league with a pass rush specialist coach in Chuck Smith. And you can see what Kyle Van Noy has done over the last 2 years. You can look at the development of Justin Madubuike into a Pro Bowl player. You can look at the development last year of Odafe Owe and getting 10 sacks a year ago. You can look at all these things and you go, Chuck Smith, working with these guys every day on pass rush. Now you give him Mike Green. And part of the reason why I give the Ravens, such a high marks is they get Malachi, they get Mike Green, and then they draft Emory Jones from LSU, a right tackle. I mean, the Ravens don't just they're basically they're Walmart. I mean, they stock shelves of offensive linemen. They have one offensive lineman leave, like John Simpson last year. Like Kevin Zeitler, they're Walmart. They just have the next one up and running. They draft 3 offensive linemen this year. And they'll put them in the program and they'll develop them. And then, like Andrew Voorhees 3 years ago, they'll redshirt them if they have to, put them on the program, practice squad, they'll get them ready to play. So those are the teams I thought that really crushed it, okay? Let's talk about teams that, maybe there's some question marks. Let's wait and see. All right, teams want to kill the Atlanta Falcons. Like Jalen Walker was there at 15. I'm not sure how. I don't think a lot of people thought Jalen Walker was getting by Carolina at 8, but he fell all the way to 15. This is a first-round talent. So the Falcons take him at 15, and not only is it a pick of value, it's a pick of need. They had 31 sacks last year. They're at the very bottom of the NFL. Arnold Ebiketie led the Falcons last year with 6 sacks. I mean, they have not been able to pressure the quarterback in a long time. So Jalen Walker, congratulations, okay? Fell right to the Falcons. But then they trade back into the first round, all right, with the Los Angeles Rams. They give up next year's number 1 pick to go get James Pierce Jr. Now, there's some teams that think the Rams just got themselves a lottery ticket to next year. Maybe it's for a quarterback. They didn't address the quarterback in this draft. The Les Snead has no problem not drafting in the first round. They've only done it once. They did it last year with Jared Verse. They found the defensive rookie of the year. But they have no problem not drafting in the first round. So they give the Falcons a first-round pick. I've heard people out there saying that the Rams fleeced the Falcons. Maybe they did. But maybe James Pierce Jr. becomes an elite pass rusher because his talent says that he can be. When you're 6'5" and you're 245 and, you run in a 4.47 40 like he did at the combine, you go, that's what elite edge rushers look like. Guys that can run and chase and sudden and fast. If they get themselves a great pass rusher and he becomes a double-digit sack guy continuously, and the Falcons overtake the Bucs because they get pass rush and they get after Baker with Jalen Walker, then you could say, hey, wait and see. And then they go and draft Xavier Watts from Notre Dame at safety. Guy's got 13 interceptions the last 2 years. I love Xavier Watts. But they get Xavier Watts, in the 3rd round. They get Billy Bowman from Oklahoma. Like, just go watch Billy Bowman's tape. You can criticize maybe the size of Billy Bowman for a guy that how's he going to hold up in the NFL. He looks like Bob Sanders to me. This guy is electric. If they get safety play, improved safety play and good edge rush play with what maybe Michael Penix becomes at quarterback, and a lot of this hinges on Michael Penix becoming a starter and really maximizing that 8th pick last year. And the Falcons take over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, nobody's going to criticize them. And then finally, a couple things. Look, I mean, I've waited 14 minutes here to get to the Cleveland Browns. You can say, okay, Cleveland gets Jacksonville's next year's number 1 draft pick. They get Mason Graham. They're off to a great start, right? They go get Carson Schlesinger, 2nd round. First pick, 2nd round, off to a smashing start. They get Quinshon Judkins, a position of need at running back. Great value. Okay, you go on and on. Then mysteriously, okay, you want to take a flyer on a quarterback in the 3rd round, Dylan Gabriel with the 94th pick? Great. Okay, fantastic. Go do it. All right. And then it just, and you want to go draft Harold Fannin from Bowling Green and tight end? Great. Go get Njoku, a running mate, a tight end. We know Stefanski wants to run 2 tight end sets. Go get Harold Fannin. People thought a lot of him. His head coach is now the offense coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, Dylan Gabriel, so far, okay, that's your guy. You want to go get Dylan Sampson, a speedster at running back, and all right, rebuild the running back room? Great. Cleveland wants to run the ball. No tackles taken, no edge rushers taken. And then in the 5th round, you come back 50 picks later after Dylan Gabriel to draft Shedeur. It just is an odd pick. And I'm not here to bash Shedeur. Maybe he becomes the starter. Maybe he's that outlier in the 5th round, like Kirk Cousins was, like, other guys, Tom Brady. Like maybe he's the outlier. But at the same time, man, offensive line was a need. Edge rusher was a need. This was a deep draft, and defensive linemen. Okay, that's that. And then, to 49ers, they had to rebuild their defensive line. We know that. And so they go and they get Michael Williams with the 11th pick. Honestly, it's a great pick. He can play anywhere in the defensive line. He was playing as an 18-year-old freshman for Georgia's national championship team on rotation with Jalen Carter and all that group up there, Nolan Smith. He had a high ankle sprain against Clemson this year, battled through it all year. Really was not the same player as he was his sophomore year or his freshman year. They go and get Alfred Collins from Texas. They needed defensive tackles. They go and get C.J. West from Indiana. Not as big as Alfred Collins, but squattier, tested really well at the combine. They get 3 defensive linemen, and they go get Nick Martin, an undersized linebacker, to replace, take a pick, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shire. Like, he looks like those guys. He's maybe 5'11", maybe 220, but you look at his 2023 tape, maybe he is the heir apparent, or maybe the partner, to their all-pro inside linebacker. And we don't know. We don't know. Like, did they rebuild it? Does Robert Saleh get 3-4 great pieces to work with? Can they all get on the field and then make an impact? Typically, defensive linemen, through history, you need almost a redshirt year before they figure things out. Every once in a while, so every once in a while, a defensive lineman hits the field and they produce right away, like Jared Verse did last year, and they can produce right away. Typically, it takes a full year. So that's why I say you got to wait and see on these guys. Maybe Shedeur becomes the starting quarterback in Cleveland. Maybe James Pierce Jr. is a Pro Bowl player in his 2nd year. And so while you could criticize a lot of these selections of these teams, Atlanta, Cleveland, even the 49ers, we have to wait and see. And that's the draft. I don't like giving grades out because nobody knows. What we know is that nobody knows anything about any of these players. We don't know about their health. We don't know how they're going to handle fame, handle money, handle being a professional. Do they immerse themselves in it? Do they get sucked up by it and all the trimmings of success and not take it serious? We don't know. We don't know who overtrains and comes in or injured and hurt. We don't know the bad coaching that's going to take place with the coaching changes in places. We don't know any of those things. But that's my take here on teams that I thought really crushed it in the draft, the Raiders and the Ravens, and teams that we have to wait and see in Atlanta, Cleveland, 49ers, and others as well. That's been the Best Football Show. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Look forward to talking to you real soon.